Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and in this video, what I want to do is get my mega service working. So we left it in a prior week, but before we go and build up more mega services, we really should get this one working. And since other boot campers were able to solve it, that means I should spend a little bit more time trying to figure out the output. And once that's solved, then I can go on and I can go make a more complex mega service for other weeks here. The question is like, how do I run this? Because I forgot. And you folks might say, well, Andrew, can't you just I don't know, read your docs, and maybe I can. Maybe I have it all here if I did a good job here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd into my OPEA comps directory, into my mega services. And I mean, if this is just a Docker file, it should just be Docker compose up, right? And it should just work. We might have required, because we're using Llama 3.21 billion, we might have required to have environment variables in order to load it in there. But I don't recall having to do that. If we're using OLlama, then the model, oh, we went into and then pulled the model. Let me take a look here, just a moment. All right, I'm looking around, and so yes, so we do have our OLlama service running over here. So we have Docker Compose OLlama server. And so now that I remember is that we basically took, so this on the outside runs the comp, and then this one is able to infer from it, right? So this is not necessarily the mega service. The mega service would need to, well, actually, sorry, no, it is, because it's utilizing the code within here. But it's not a mega service in that it's all containerized, which I'm hoping when we have our friend James, who's really good at Docker, he can kind of help me out with this kind of part with it. So I guess what we need to do is run Docker Compose up, and what that's going to do is run this part here. And then I think I had to manually go in and download it because it was ephemeral. It'd be really nice to store that locally. There's probably a way to do that, but I'm going to wait for that to start up here. And if we don't have installed, I am in Windsurf, so I might have to install this separately here. But I'm going to go ahead and install Docker, and so that will allow me to be able to debug and see things like that. Okay, so now we have it running over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just connect to this. So I'm going to say attach shell. And I got some other stuff in here that is from another week, but I'm just going to go ahead and close them off real quick. It is for a video you have not yet seen, and it's for the next week over. But I'll close that out so I have a little bit more ability to see what's going on here. And so, well, actually, we don't even have to shell into it, do we? We just need to, I'll close out the terminal. We just need to, oh, I didn't shut it down, did I? No, it's still running. Okay, great. We just need to run these commands to make sure it's pulling. So what I'm going to do is make a new tab here. And we need to pull the model, which will make the model pull down first. So here, and I realize the font's a bit small. It's really important to always revisit your code and make sure you can run it. But here we have this curl, right? And are we missing the closing bracket? Doesn't look like we are. Failed to connect to port 9000. Is this not running? Let's go back over to here. It is. What port did we expose? Let's go back over to here, Docker Compose. And this says 8008-11434. So this is not port 9000. Maybe we changed it earlier. So which port is it being mapped to? So in this case, 8008 is on the host machine that we can access. For whatever reason, these say 9000 up here. Maybe later on we changed it to 9000 in the code. I mean, this one says 8. Oh yeah, it is 9000 over here, service port. Okay, so basically what's happening is maybe my code's a little bit, these are a little bit out of date because this one here is starting obviously on this port, but then over here, why doesn't that one say 8008? Or the other thing is that maybe we're running OLlama manually and we're accessing it that way. Because as long as it's on a port, you would be able to access it, right? Just give me a second here. I just don't remember what I was doing. I honestly don't remember, but let's go take a look and see if we have OLlama over here. And it's saying OLlama is not installed. Why is OLlama never installed on anything here? OLlama could not be found. So, I mean, we could install OLlama this way and run it, and I was wondering if maybe this defaulted to port 9000, but this one over here is saying 8008, but then in our application configuration, it's saying 9000, which is the LM service port for where it's coming from, and then we obviously have our embedding one here. So what I'm thinking is, unless we overrode it when we started it, because in here we can set the LM service port, So maybe it is 8008. It just depends on how we start our application. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this over to 8008 for now, 8008. Because if that's what it's running on, that's what it is, and we'll just go ahead and do that. And that's fine. But we'll have to normalize this to something here in a moment. Yeah, it wants to change it over to there as well. Okay, another thing we can do is just map it to 9000, but I don't know. I think maybe the original port was 9000 on the other one, and so we never mapped over this one, and so all we'd have to do is change this to 9000. It also does say LM endpoint port here, so if this set is set, it will set this one. Otherwise, it'll do 8008. So maybe it's just because we didn't actually set that value when we started it up. And so if like we were to stop this for a second, and I was to go LLM endpoint port, I know we just downloaded it, but I just want to see if this does what I think it does. And we run this again. Did this bind on that port? And we could probably find out by doing a Docker PS here. And now it's saying 9000. Okay, so that's what we needed to do. So I'll go back to my docs. And do we explain actually how to start that? We don't. So we'll go over to here and, oh, we actually have a README in here. Okay. But it doesn't explain anything. So let's give it some explanation. So how to run the service. So here, we'll say we are using OLAMA, which is being delivered via Docker Compose. Okay. This is why docs are so important. Even I forget constantly. So what was the command that we wanted here? It was, I'll just stop it here and grab it. So go back over to here and we'll just say this here. We're using OLAMA, which is being delivered via Docker Compose. We can set the port that the LLM will listen on. 9000 is ideal when looking at many megaservice architectures existing. Default ports. This will default to 8008 if not set. Okay, and so that's how we can start up Docker Compose, right? Or sorry, like up that model. And also, if we had another model, we could probably run it also in this Docker Compose file and then just connect that way as well. So how to run the LLM service, and then we'll say how to run the mega service example. So I'm going to assume this is just Python app.py. I don't remember, but I imagine that's what it is. There could be other environment variables that we might want to set here. So you can see we have these ones that we can override, but at this time I don't want to override them, right? And then this will start up on port 8000. So we'll go back over to this one. That's pretty clear what's going on there, so I don't really need that much code to explain it, at least for me. But we'll go back over to here, and again, it'd be nice if this pulled and did other stuff. We could probably update this to do those actions if we were to just call those things here. So maybe, well, the problem is that there's no curl or wget inside of it, so we still would have to curl and do those things. But that's okay. What I'm going to do is go back over to the to here, and I'm going to go ahead and this is to use it. We need to download the mega service, right? I mean, we can go ahead and just curl it initially to see what happens. Like this one says 8000. It's supposed to be 9000. Oh no, it's 8000 for the app. So like testing the app. Okay, so when you start OLAMA, it doesn't have the model downloaded. So we'll need to prep it, download the model via the API for OLAMA, right? So that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just like download pull model. And I mean, that's technically correct. So we'll go ahead and use that. I just pulled it from my other code there. And so we will go ahead and just, well, in this case, it's going to be 9,000 because we started up on port 9,000 there. We'll go ahead and hit enter. And we'll do this, and we'll do this. Okay, so now it's pulling that. So when that's pulled, our backend should work. And where I last left this off where it wasn't working, unless it was working, was I was having issues with the handler. I did not realize that this would be such a complicated thing, but I could have swore that I did not finish this. But maybe I did, but I just want to make sure that it's in a working state before we move on. So now that that is pulled, the next thing is to actually start up the actual thing here. So say python app.py, and we'll go run it. Again, I've already installed this stuff, so I don't have to do pip install, but if you don't, you might have to do that. It's now running on port 8,000. I'm going to go open it up over here. So this detail's not found. That's okay, because right now it's just, there's no interface, right? And there are mega services, or sorry, components that I think that they can deliver for that. If they don't, we'll figure it out, because there are definitely mega services that have an interface. But what I'm thinking here is I want to go test this here first. We'll go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here and hit enter. And so this will actually produce output somewhere, wherever we're running. So maybe it's over here. And we didn't get anything here. So I might as well just update these commands. I don't want response to be dumped everywhere really permanently. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to be a little bit more explicit of where I want this to go. So I just say like output. And maybe we'll just say new file here, or new folder here, sorry. Oh, by the way, I'm going to get my head a little bit out of the way. I just realized, or I'll bring it down here, right? So you know I'm still here, right? I don't know, I just won't put it down there because we never look at that taskbar anyway. But anyway, so what I want to do is I want to, make a new folder here. I'll call it output. I'm going to put a .keep file here. And then I'm going to make another file in here called gitignore. And assuming I spelt it right. And then we're just going to ignore all the JSON files in here. And that way we can dump files here and then look at them when we want. And it's not so much of an issue. So, but we're not in the correct folder. So I'm going to go OPEA, mega service. And then I'll run it here, right? So I'll just make sure that before we run it there, we'll say cd, OPEA comps, mega service, right? And that way this will dump to that location. We could even take this one here and do the same thing. But I don't remember what that one does. Okay. Are these the same? I mean, this one's formatted this way and this one's formatted that way. So this has a little bit more information. So I can't remember. Well, the thing is, like, it should already run the one. So it's probably this one here, I would think. Because this one is, this has a very simple message, and it might take that interface, but I think it's the second one that is actually what we want. This is what happens when you don't document yourself, then you don't know what you're doing. So I'll go into here, I'll give this a refresh, and now we have a response here. And I really wish this would do like a pretty print. I wonder if there's a way we could do that with a query string. So I'm going to say sudo apt get install query string, or JQ. JQ is a, it's called JQ, right? I have a mini course of this somewhere. JQ. Command line processor. So this thing can be really useful if we want to format our output, right? I need to figure out how to install this, download. Sudo apt-get JQ, that's what I did. It did not pick it up. Let's try this one more time. There we go. I'm going to go back over to here and we'll just say, install JQ so we can get pretty JSON on output. Okay, and I'll just put this here so other folks can do it. And I believe all we got to do is do pipe JQ like this. Actually, we might be able to do, I'm going to copy this here. I'm going to ask for, I'll do this one actually. I'll go ask Windsurf here. Windsurf, you know, I want to output the JSON in a more readable format. Can we use JQ to do that? Okay. And it's right now set to chat mode, but well, I can't switch it while it's doing it. And we'll just tell it like, can you update the file? I gave you write access. Okay, and so it'll just try that one more time. Because it's like pipe it, we have to pipe it to it, like pipe JQ period or something. Yep, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll copy this. And now we will run it again. And if we go back over to here, now it's way easier for us to read, right? That's really nice. So now we can kind of see what our response is. And so we see chat completion, test model. The model is test model. That is not our model that we want to use. Maybe that's why it wasn't working before, but we'll go down below here. I'm going to go paste it into here. Right? And no response content available. So that's totally fine. We'll go ahead and just delete this. One other thing I'd like you to do is like, can we timestamp it? So this, I think it's like $time or something. So like for the response name, can we add the Unix timestamp? E.g., you know, e.g. time response JSON. I think it's just $sign or $sign parentheses time or something like that. Or it might be a format like that. There we go, or date. There we go, date. So if we do this way I can keep continually running and I don't have to keep deleting that single file out, which would get kind of annoying. So now what we'll do is just copy this here. We'll hit enter. And if we go here and take a look, refresh, we now have this timestamp, and so we can clearly see what's going on. So here we're specifying the exact model. It says no output or assistant here. We could also turn these into bash scripts. That's normally what I do. Right now I'm not doing that. We might do that in a second here. Boot campers definitely know how to do that. They've done that a bunch here with me, like previous boot camps. But we'll go ahead and we'll copy this. I'm going to go ahead and copy this command in here, and I'm just going to test it because again I can't remember what I did last time. So go ahead and hit enter. It has a bit of an issue with the formatting, so I'm just going to copy this last line completely here, and we'll do this. Okay, and I'll go ahead and copy this again. I'll hit enter. Oh my goodness. This looks correct. What's the problem? Oh no, it downloaded. Okay. And so it says no response content available. So what I'm going to do, I mean, we did download the model. We never really tested it. So I'll go back to our other README file here really quickly. And I want to go ahead and just test the model. So there's this command here, and it used to be 9,000. So if the model is downloaded on our computer, then this should work. At some point, I'm going to move over to my Intel AI PC because I'm kind of sharing my compute with this, and it's kind of annoying. But anyway, here, so it's streaming, so it's clearly working. Notice this one is model and prompt. I don't understand why this one is model and message. Oh, because it's going to 8,000 first, right? Okay, that makes sense. But like, what format does it expect it to be? So if I go back over to here, right, and we scroll on up for a second, I'm gonna just collapse this so I can see what's going on. And we scroll on down to the ground. We have the service, right? And we have the handle request. I remember this. The handle request is what is passing it. So there was a thing in here that was responsive. Oh, here, it's right here. So say add routes, self endpoint, self handle request, methods post. Okay. And then in here, we can see how it's trying to handle the request to Ollama. Now, what's interesting is that we just ran it and the structure, and it perfectly worked this way, but the structure was a bit different. If we go back over to app.py, no, not app.py, this README here, we can see that we did model prompt, right? And that worked totally fine. But here, We have a request and we have model. It's fine that's defaulting that one. That makes sense. We have messages, role, content, stream. And then it's a little bit different. And it's streaming content. So that's something that I'm kind of wondering what is going on. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see, because I know David was able to get this to work. So I'm really curious what his handle request looks like. But I would imagine that we'd have to use prompting instead. So let me go take a look at his code base. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so I found David's repo. And let's take a look and see if we have a similar implementation or something else. This is the advantage of the bootcamp, is that we're all doing it together. We can do stuff. Oh, we got open telemetry. Nice. So what I'm curious about, if we go into app.py, well, also, what was the implementation here that was being utilized? I'm still seeing Olama, so 400 bad requests. There was a 400 bad request error when the application attempted to communicate with the Olama server. Okay, so there might have been a bit of issue. There was a primary issue with incorrect formatting of the message. When the first payload was sending a message, list containing dictionary content key. The message field should be formatted as a list of dictionaries. Okay, so I wonder if this is going to be related to our issue as well. But this is saying a 400 error with the Olama integration. I don't remember what I got, to be honest. But we'll go open this up here. I like that, again, open telemetry is implemented. This is something that I should be doing. They actually have it a little bit in the docs about open telemetry and utilizing Prometheus and things like that. Well, actually, you know what? That was a problem. I was getting open telemetry issues, and I was just ignoring it and not running it. But it looks like David just ran it, and so they doesn't have issues with it. That's totally smart. So what I'll do, I was just lazy, right? I didn't want to have to figure it out. But what we can do is say OTel in here, and it is, yeah, it's the same one. And then we will set the ports as, well, I don't know if it's actually that port. Let's go take a look here. It's not exactly the same one. This one says 4371. I don't know what port it's supposed to be on, but let's go find out. So if we go over to the OPEA docs, okay, and we go into GenAI examples. What I'm trying to figure out here is, in the documentation here, I know it talks about open telemetry. So, and I'm just wondering if they have a very specific implementation of how they're using telemetry, open telemetry. Or, yeah, we'll go here. Telemetry. So it says here, oh, there we go. See, if I just read the docs, I would have found it too. But David clearly took the time and read the docs, or just figured out how to start it up. And it looks like that was part of the requirements here. But this is in the mega service, which is setting up a generic one, which I never really did when we did it in the GenAI Essentials. But this one actually has a compose file in particular. So it's not actually the same. So David's was a little bit different. But what I want to know is, what port does it have to be? I know David has that specific port, but I want to take a look here. And so I'm going to go to the OPEA project on GitHub, right? So we're going to go over to here. I'm going to go to projects. This is in chat Q&A. So we're going to go into examples, and we'll go into chat Q&A. And in here, we have, is it another level down? Compose telemetry, right? Oh, it's in the Intel Xeon CPU section. UI. No, we're not UI. But it's cool they actually have, I didn't know they had different implementations of UI. Svelte, React, Docker. Well, Docker is not really a particular implementation. We'll go Docker Compose. We'll go into Intel. We'll go into CPU. We'll go into Xeon. And in here we have telemetry. And so here it's running OTel where? I mean, I see the TI embedding. Okay, TGI service. Jaeger. I've heard certain things called Jaeger before, but I'm not sure which one this one is. Open source distributed tracing platform. Okay. Now I'm kind of getting my Kubernetes brain coming back here, but this doesn't run OTel, does it? Distributed tracing observability platform is Jaeger are essentials for modern applications. Okay. Does Jaeger run OTel? I mean, maybe it does. It's a cloud native project. It supports open telemetry, but Jaeger is limited in terms of UI and does not only Okay, so but what's Jaeger versus? I guess it's just the interface to interact with it versus OTel. Because it probably, OTel is just a protocol, right? And so Jaeger would be the interface. Right? So, yeah, here we have OTel. Tracing platform. Okay, so if we were to start this up, would we get that with it, OTel with it? Well, again, OTel is just a protocol, right? It's just a protocol. So, but it has to go somewhere. Oh, okay. So, but let's go back over to what David had here a second ago. So if we go back to David, we have open telemetry collector. So is that just like a really basic collector that goes somewhere? I think that's what it is. Offers a vendor-agnostic implementation of how to receive, process, and export telemetry data. Okay. And then in order to, so it says, in addition, it removes the need to run and operate, maintain multiple agents collectors in order to support open source telemetry data formats, Jaeger Prometheus to multiple open source commercial backends. Okay. But we still might want to actually read it. And so I like that David's done this, and he has it on 4318. But if you go to this implementation here, they don't list that one, but maybe you can do that. Or maybe that's the default for OTel collector. Maybe that's what it is. OTel collector default port. No, it's still that, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and copy Jaeger because if we can just get Jaeger to run, I know of Jaeger. I covered it in my KCNA, but I wouldn't say that I'm an expert of it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just replace the OTel collector here, which we could use, and that would just have somewhere to send the logs for. But this might be more interesting because if this just works and it runs, that'd be really, really good. Here, I mean, we want it to be no proxy because we're not going to proxy it anywhere for an environment. So I'm not exactly sure what we want to set for that, but these are probably, this no proxy comes from the mega service that we set. And this is something that we did in the GenAI Essentials. Remember, I have to set environment variables for it. So yeah, it's down here as well. So it'll pick up both of them, right? So this is going to be fine. Should we be sending them to both? Probably not. No, I guess it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and restart this mega service, and maybe we can get Jaeger working. And then it'll be like, oh, look at me. I can run more cloud native stuff. We really, really need James. James, again, he's just a wizard at this stuff. I'm terrible at it. But I'm good enough to teach the basics. So we'll go over to here, and I'm just waiting for it to start, right? So if we give this a refresh, I'm waiting for Jaeger to start up. It's starting, right? Oh, you know what? I didn't save the file. Okay, so we'll hit up again. And so now it's pulling Jaeger. I think it said things weren't set. I don't think it matters because it's going to default anyway if we don't have Jaeger set to use no proxy. Defaulting to string blank. So I'm not sure, again, if that's going to be a problem. I don't think that's going to be a problem. But I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, I think they're both running now. They are. Okay, so now that we have Jaeger, how do we access it? I'm going to go check the logs here because maybe the logs might give us an indication of what it's running on or what to do. So it says gRPC, so that's the whatever Google's RPC protocol. I don't think it's called Google protocol, Go protocol, because it probably is written in Go. But I know what RPC is, or Go routine RPC. What is it called? I have a slide somewhere for this gRPC. What does the G stand for? What does the G stand for? General purpose. There it is. General purpose RPC. But it is made by Google, so to be fair, you can see why I might have thought of that. But it's saying here that it's starting on 11686. So I want to see if there's an interface here. We do this. Oh, look at that. We got an interface. We are like full-blown DevOps people now. So we'll go over to here. This is fun. Okay, so we have how to run the LLM service, how to access the Jaeger UI. When you run Docker Compose, it should start up Jaeger. Okay, so we have that now. And so that's good. If we go back over to here, I just want to make sure we're not running it twice. We're not. Okay, good. And so this is the front end. So we'll try to get the front end running up again here. And I can't remember if I tried to disable in my code the telemetry stuff. I think I might have just started to ignore the errors. And we still have our orchestrator, but that's not telemetry. Oh, telemetry endpoint is right here. So what did David set as his? Maybe he overrode his, or it's set as the default. Because I don't remember. I'm not going to watch my own video back because I got to move. I got to keep moving forward with you guys and gals and other folks. So over here we have the OTel. Oh, so he actually has the OTel endpoint right in here like this. And we bring this down here. That's his telemetry endpoint. So that's how he configured it, and he brings in all that stuff. I can't remember if I ripped that out or not. But the nice part is that if it's here, right, then we can get it this way. Oh, and down below here, it sets the telemetry endpoint as telemetry endpoint. I don't think that's very useful for us here, but let's go ahead and yeah, that's not going to help us too much. But in here, this is the other mega service. Somewhere in here, there should be that app.py file. I think it's, we got to go back a bit. Chat Q&A. Here. And so in here, it should have that open telemetry stuff going, or at least Jaeger, right? So we'll type in telemetry. OTel? Nope. Well, here we have a bunch of endpoints, right? Mega service port, guardrails, retriever, LLM. Sorry, I know the font's really small. I just, sometimes it's just hard for me to see all the text quickly. So in here, I'm looking specifically for mega service port, align items, align outputs, service orchestrator. I mean, this one clearly uses Jaeger, but where is it? And we do have a handle request here, which is we might want to pull from later, but it has a lot more going on here, which might make it a little bit hard. Okay. Parser. So I don't have anything about OTel. Or like, yeah, OTel. So we'll go back over to this level here. And then we'll go into the wrapper. Maybe one of these have it. Okay, let's go back to that example that we had on the OPEA website that actually showed us here. If I go into, where was it? GenAI examples, examples. Was this it? No. Deploying GenAI. Developer guide. Very, very hard to find here. Somewhere in here, we had an example. Maybe it was getting started. Nope. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Nowhere here. Generative AI examples. I feel like it was under here. Nope. Give me a second. I'm going to go find it because I think it had OTel code, right? All right, I actually found one right on the comps page. So somewhere in the docs, but this is basically the exact same one I kind of remember from before. I mean, it looks almost exactly the same, where it's a little bit incomplete, but we don't have the OTel set, and the other one doesn't have it set either. So what I'm going to do for now, I'm not sure if this is going to break it or not be utilized, but what I'm going to do is I want to go over here and I want to disable. I thought I had it in my code here. That endpoint where it was empty. Didn't I just have it here? Let me try it. It's telemetry. Right here. Oh, example service, telemetry, under here. Okay. So if we go back over to here. Oh, you know what? I think what it was that we added this to try to clear it out. Right? So we don't need to set this because it probably already has a default, and whatever it is, we're going to find out. Now I'm remembering. Okay. So go back over to here, and I'm going to go and see this one here. This is on port 8000. So we'll bring this back down. I don't know why, like when I drag down, you'll notice like sometimes it just snaps to the right, which is kind of frustrating. I have no idea why it does that. We'll go over to localhost 8000. Okay. And so not found, that's totally fine. We get a 404, we're supposed to get that, right? If we go back over to here, we'll go ahead and we want to curl that 8000. And it kind of makes sense why that structure is a little bit different here because, you know, we're doing something a little bit different. So maybe we want to take this one here. I can't remember which one it was. Again, documentation is key and I just didn't do it. And so if we go back over to this one, we actually get a 200, which I'm surprised. Well, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it worked. It just means it didn't throw an error. And so if we go here, I can't tell which one's the new one. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Delete. And I'm going to go back over to here, and we'll hit up. This is on, no, that's not port 9000. There we go, that's port 8000. That's the one we want to test. We'll hit enter, and we'll refresh here. We'll check. Assist, no response content available. That's totally fine. I'm curious if we got anything in Jaeger now. And so OPEA here, we'll find. And I do not see anything. I mean, we only ran it once, so, but the point is that if there's some way we can collect that OTel information there, we can. I just don't know if I've really buggered up my my code here, or I don't have it properly set. But normally the way we would know is we saw those errors before being thrown, and so I'm looking for those OTel errors. I don't see any, but again, I might have done a really good job at suppressing them to begin with. And I don't think there's anything special that I'm not importing here that we might need to get that there. Or maybe it was on this one here that was the issue. But that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to figure out, oh, it says example model up there. I wonder why it does that. And I mean, it could also be based on, yeah, I'm not sure why it does that example model. But I'm just thinking here. So we get a 200, it says assist, no content available. But that can't be true, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to here, and we want to do some troubleshooting. And yeah, if we could get anything, even a hello, I'd love to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. I don't expect this to print out, but we will try it, and I will go back over to here. And we'll run this again. Go back over to here, and we actually do get a hello. So clearly it's printing out the request information. So I want to go here and debug the request. Really? That's all we get? I mean, if it works, fine. But that'd be a little bit more sophisticated than that. I'm kind of getting tired of constantly copying and pasting or worrying about that big bash command. So I'm going to make a new folder here called bin, and then we're just going to call this one test. right? And then I'm going to go ahead here. We need the shebang. So what is it? Shebang. I'm going to go rename this to .sh so it knows. It is not auto-completing whatsoever for some reason. I will go back over to, I mean, if it's a .sh, we don't have to worry about it. I like it when it doesn't have a .sh on it though, and I just can't remember the shebang. Despite writing it so many darn times, I can't remember everything. But we'll go over to here, and I'll copy out this one here, and I'll paste it in here as such. And I mean, it'll still work in that format. And so now, if I go here, chmod u plus x bin test. Okay, I really don't want to have, maybe we'll call it message here, message. And if I go to the top here, there it goes. Now, well, kind of. That is not the way I do my commands. We'll go take a look here on one of my repos. So just give me a second here to find one of my folders here. I got two Chromes going. Let me close one. There we go. I found it. And so we'll go ahead and we'll paste it in here as well. And so now that's what I really want. That's usually the proper one to execute. And so now what we can do is we can just do bin message when we want to execute this. And it'll do the same thing here. Right. I'm not sure if this is showing alphabetical or not, but you can see no matter what we do here, neither provided the result that we want. I'm still deleting these out manually, which is whatever. But we'll go here. And yeah, no response content available. That's totally okay because we're doing this for debugging. And so we do have the message here. Okay. It says, hello, this is a test message. Right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go back over to, I'm going to save this here. And we are able to print out the request. So, I mean, it's pretty clear what the request is here. But then here we have OLAMA request, and we're formatting the request, and then we're using the mega service to schedule it for the orchestrator. So again, we'll go back and take a look at what David did. I want to see where his code deviates. So yeah, we have a bunch of tracing in there. That's good. We have logging turned on. That's good. I see that he has his telemetry endpoint cleared. You probably, David, you probably could just remove that now at this point. But I saw that you set the OTel collector up, so that's really good. So that makes me wonder, like, did he get it to work or not? But I mean, he was on the right track with the telemetry collector, so that was really smart of him. We'll say add remote service. I like how this is. Do we have that isolated there in our own code? I'm not sure if we do, but I like that. Oh, we do. Okay. Okay. And we have a handle request. Formatted messages, OLAMA request. So that's looking a little bit similar to ours. And just trying to make this a little bit easier for us to read here. Just close that out there. So we can do more of a bit of a side-by-side comparison. And I'm just going to drag this over. Again, just trying to make it really easy so we can kind of match them up. And see where did we go wrong. So we have with tracer. Oh, okay, cool. So you're actually putting a trace in so you can actually trace the request. Maybe that's why I don't have any tracer information because I'm not actually tracing anything. That probably would help, and that's probably why we're not seeing anything. But anyway, we have try, formatted message. So here, you can do it that way. That is fine. And then the formatted message goes where? I was thinking maybe that it would go inside the request here. But the OLAMA request has the model, which is here. That's the same. They have messages request. So we're not using this line here. This is just going straight into here, which if that works, that's totally fine. But then there's also this formatted way of doing it, which I think that we actually do when we do test it. Let's go check that really quick. So if we're looking at the top level README here, actually we just do model and prompt. Yeah, we're not doing anything super fancy here. Well, anyway, that's okay. Well, hold on. No, that's to generate it. That's not to. No, that's to generate. Yeah. Okay. So if we go back down here, it's being passed. Streaming is turned off right now, so it's not using streaming. Here's the question: am I using streaming? So we go back over to here. Streaming is false. So disable streaming for now, right? And streaming is kind of a pain to figure out, so that's totally fine. And then results, wait for the scheduler to Olama. And it sends that request there. And then if we go to here, this looks very similar. Okay, that's the same. And that's the same. And that's the same. So I would say, yeah, it's pretty similar to what I had. Okay. So if the code's exactly the same, then I wonder, let me go take a look here 1 second. All right, so I think if we take a look here, the way David got it to work, he just passed the request directly to it, and he just skipped that whole process thing. Which is really interesting. So I guess the thing is that the messages are already formatted. So I think this is the problem. This is our problem. Like, look here. Look at the payload. It's already formatted in the format that it needs to be, right? It's already in the format that it needs to be. And then if we go over to here and we follow it through. So I was trying to think, like, why would that work? Here we have the OLM request, but it's already formatted, right? It doesn't have, if we go back here, it doesn't say like streaming false, but this is all the stuff that's going to get passed in. Or at least the messages are, right? So then, and then we have request.model, so that makes sense. And like, it wouldn't be this, it would be request.messages here, right? Like here, that's where it should go. And we still have false on here. Okay, and so there you go. You just got to carefully read. And because I was using LLMs, I just was turning my brain off and I wasn't taking the time to look. And so maybe this is what will actually solve our problem. I'm also just interested to try to rehook up the telemetry code and see what happens. We'll go ahead and start python.app. And it is now running on port 8000. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. Well, actually, no, we just need to go hit that endpoint, right, on that other tab. So go over to here, and we will try message. And if we go back over to here, it still doesn't work. But I'm not sure if I saved it and you know, okay, I saved this here. Did I actually stop the app and restart it? I don't think I did that. So we'll do this. Maybe I did, I just don't know. And we'll do bin message, and we'll check our message. No response. Okay, but at least we know, like, that makes more sense, right? That the reason it didn't work was because we actually weren't passing the messages along at all. So we're getting closer to this here. What I'm going to do is before it actually passes in the results, I'm going to go ahead and say print result. No, not the result. We'll say print Olama request. Because I want to see what it looks like. Like, what is getting passed along before it goes? And we'll go ahead and we'll just run this again. I'll go back over to here. And we can see, well, it's printing out two things, so it's a little bit hard to see what's going on. So I'm just going to take out that one because we already have the request. That's fine. I'm going to stop and start it again, and we're going to run this again. Okay, and then we're going to go back over to here. And so we can see exactly what's being passed. Model, llama, 3.21 billion. Messages, role, user, content. So it's technically in the format that it's supposed to be. We get a 1 or a 200 coming back here. We also have the results. So schedule the request through the orchestrator, but I don't think this would give back the result, but maybe it does. So we'll say print result. And just to make things a little bit easier here, I'm just going to go ahead and do a few of these. Okay. OLAMA request. Yep, that's nice. Response. We'll go back over to here. So here's our request. Here's a response. So we're getting back here some kind of object, a streaming object, which is fine. That's going to make it a little bit hard to see what's going on here. Then we have is instance result and tuple result 0.get LLM service. And so this is supposed to be the actual response. So what I'll do here is we'll go ahead and do a print here. And we'll print that out as well. And we'll stop this, start this. We'll run this command again. We'll go back over to here. And so now we can see that we have the OLAMA response and we have the LLM services that we selected. And now we are focused on just this streaming object, which again isn't telling us much. But then inside of it, so does it have an attribute called body? Yes. Then let's read the body, right? So now I'm going to go in here and say print LLM body response, and we'll print that out. Really curious to get this hooked up with OTel. Be really cool to do that. And we'll go ahead and run this again. I'm going to go back over to here. And over here. And then we'll run this again. We'll go back over to here. And we now have the that there. So I guess we're getting closer, but it's a streaming object, right? So we would have to iterate over it to get each chunk and then assemble it together to be able to read it. So that's what it's doing here, right? It says read and process it. So it starts an empty string, and here it's iterating over each one and it's getting it. So if we did print, I'm just going to print chunk. Like we should see a bunch of stuff in here if it's working as expected. Right? So bring that up. We'll go back over to here. We'll hit up. We'll come back over to here. And now we have nothing being under here, right? So it printed this out. I'm not seeing any chunks for some reason. So if we go back over to here, this is the body response. Body response, body. Hold on. This is the body response here. And I'm trying to match up here because we have LLM response, which is here. And then we have LLM response body. Did we do that up there? So yeah, we don't even get the next one, right? Sometimes it's a bit easier if we number these. I know like we shouldn't have to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because sometimes I'm dumb. So this can kind of help me see where I am. And so I think we're not even getting step 3 here. We'll go ahead and run that again. We'll go back over to here. We'll hit up. We'll go back over to here. And now we have 1, 2, 3. We never see 4. We do have 3 here. And inside of that, we have our response body. So we have starlet responses, whatever, and then 4 never prints because it's saying that there is no attribute here. We don't see any attribute here called body, right? So I'm going to go here and show the output here. Okay, so I am not getting, I'm getting no body back. It seems the handle request parser is not correct. Okay. And maybe I should totally figure out what the structure of that data is before we do anything else there. And maybe in the docs there's somewhere that it points out that tells us that, right? But I'm just curious. I'm going to go back to David's code because he got it working, right? And if we go down here for a second. He has this here. His goes, is an instance of a tuple. Yeah, same thing. LM response. His goes, has attribute body, checks for a body. right? So then why don't I have a body attribute? Okay, what did it do? Okay, so we go up here. Look at the response structure there. It seems we need to modify the response handling the handle request method. The response is coming back with a streaming object, but we're not properly handling it. Let's modify the code to correctly handle streaming responses. I mean, we know we're getting a streaming. We told it not to stream, which it still did anyway, which is fine. I don't care if we get streaming back. But the challenge here is that we have to carefully read this. So it says remove has body check since we know we're getting a streaming response. Okay, fair enough. Added a proper JSON thing. So maybe when David used it, this worked, right? But for some reason, when I do stream false, it's still returning back a streaming object. So there might be something I'm overlooking that I don't realize. Or it might be something in the structure here that's wrong, but if his is working, that means that he's not getting back a streaming object. He's literally getting back a body. But I mean, streaming is what we probably rather support, so we should try to figure that out. So added more detailed error handling logging, added missing JSON import, read the streaming response chunks. I don't know if JSON import was missing. Read the streaming response chunks, try to decode the UTF-8, attempt to parse the JSON extract response field, fall back to using raw content if JSON process fails. This should help us better understand. So here, instead of doing this, which is fine, it's just going to iterate over the body. Is that right? Let's check this for a second here. So I have 2, 3. It just says body iterator. Okay, but what was the old one? Was it not doing that before? Yeah, but this one actually checks if the attribute's there. Oh, but it's suggesting that if it's not there, still iterate over it. But how will it iterate over it if there's no body iterator? We'll try it, and then we'll ask questions. But I have questions, right? So go over to here. I'm going to try this again. And we don't get it, right? So I'm going to switch this to chat for a second. And how do you know that body iterator works for the streaming response? Okay. Let's go, oh, you might be, yeah, good point. Oh, it's searching the code base. Nice. Now, we could bring an OPA, like the thing, and go ask questions about it if we open it up in another one. I just don't want to do that right now. I apologize for making the assumption about streaming response interface. Let me check the actual response. The model produced an invalid tool call trying again. Yeah, it doesn't know it's in chat mode right now. So here, what it's doing is it's saying, I don't think I actually had this code. Oh, no, I do. Okay. Response. So bring this over a little bit so we can see what's going on here. But we have here the element response. Then it does type in dictionary. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy these out and just see what kind of format we have. I know Ruby a lot better than I know Python, so we'll just have to kind of step through it a bit better, but the data structures in Python I'm not the best at. We'll go ahead and stop this, start this back up. We'll go back over to here. We'll go ahead and run this. We'll go back over to here. And what do we have? We have this starlet responses streaming response. But what's interesting is that it's showing us the attributes that we can call here. So these are basically functions, I would imagine. We do have body iterator. Okay, so body iterator is there. And we also have stream response. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it back the input here so it can see what it is before it actually does all this other stuff. Okay, so yeah, so the response is indeed a streaming response from Starlety. It has a, what the heck is Starlety? I don't even know what that is. Let's go find out. I don't know if that's like a standard Python thing. Python folks probably know. It is a ASGI framework. What's that? Asynchronous server gateway interface. Fair enough. A lightweight, low complexity HTTP web framework, WebSocket support in process background, etc., etc. Oh, this is kind of looking familiar to me now. I mean, again, I'm not from the Python world, but yeah, I'm starting to make sense of that. So keep using the body iterator since that's the correct attribute. Properly handle the streaming chunks and combine them into response body. Add more detailed logging to see if we're doing that. Is there a way? Is there a way to determine if the stream is empty for parsing before iterating? Because that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, looking at attributes, we can check a few things before attempting to iterate. That's what we should do, right? The status code, the body iterator exists. I don't think we need to check that. So, and I mean, it can bring back a 200 error, or a 200 response. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about this for a second. Let me think, okay? All right, looking at this a little bit more, all I did was put a status check in here with the 200, and I just carefully was reading through this. And basically what happens here is that, you know, we do this, we iterate through the chunks, we gather them together, we need to decode them, but if it doesn't find anything, it's just going to assign it no content available. So that's a predefined error from our system that is saying that, saying no response, content available, as if it's not even talking to Olama, right? So that's where I need to figure out the next step, okay? So maybe it has something to do with understanding the mega service schedule. 1 second. All right, so what I did is I went over here. I don't say I have it working, but I found the service orchestrator, which is what's responsible for it. And you notice that it's all peppered everywhere with open telemetry. And the scheduler has it as well. So I imagine if we could get OTel configured, maybe Jagger would show us something here as, again, I always have an issue getting started with this stuff, but if I can get anything visible here, oh, we actually have some generated results. Oh, it's already here. Oh, we have traces already. Well, look at that. So I guess it's already configured and it must be already leveraging underneath what this stuff is. And that's cool, but what does any of this stuff mean? So we have schedule, execute, and then the stuff like that. So the thing is that we want to see it actually connect to Olama, but the thing is that Olama is not rigged with OTel. So I'm not sure if we'll get any information based off of it, right? But here we can see schedule, execute, async generate. Okay, so if I go back to here, this is where we used it in our other boot camp. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Honeycomb. But it actually made this a lot like this is still really good too. But I'm just saying that what I need to see is where the traces go through, and we are getting some tracing here, but you know it's only going under here to schedule, execute, and whatever. It's not like it's going to that other service and coming back and for us to be able to see. But at least we have this here, so that's kind of a start. But that's not going to solve our problem. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to read the code. Man, this is what would happen if I didn't know what was going on. I would just read the code till it made sense, and I will be back in just a moment. All right, so I did read through it a bit more, and I had an idea. Like I was starting to read through it, and I can see there's a DAG and stuff, but it's just like all I want to know is like when something goes in the scheduler, how do I debug it if it failed? And it looks like it's just doing an it's just making an async AIO call, asyncio. It's using asyncio, and which is the async framework for Python. And somewhere here, it looked like it was just doing HTTP call and asking what would come back. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all this code here. I went to raw, and I just copied it and pasted it in here. And I'm just going to tell it, like, put chat mode, say, there is no content coming back. Our Olama is running on port 9000, right? I can curl and get data back from my host machine, I found the underlying code for the mega service schedule, and I've copied it here for you to see if there is a way I could debug why I get no data back with more rich reporting, richer logs. Might be able to do it, but the code for it is here, is orchestrator. And we'll see if that helps it at all. Or it might just give me a bunch of dumb prints again. I see we can enable the detailed logging by setting the log flag environment variable. Oh, really? Let's take a look here. And I'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to try to fix my desktop. Every time I drag down, yeah, it does that. It does like weird snapping. So give me a second, okay? There we go. I fixed it. Not the code. My display, I dragged this off a little bit like this, which is more like what my monitor looks like. And I just told it to stop easing as that keeps messing up my movements. But here we have a log flag and it's set to false. So maybe we set the log flag to true, we'll get more debugging information. And that could be really, really useful. So I'm going to go over to here. I'm not sure where that's going to log, but I'm going to go and stop this here and hit up, and we'll say log flag true. And let's see if we get, well, hold on here. I'm not sure if it has to be like this, like T with a true. We'll see if we get more logging this way. I don't know. I didn't put any of this code in yet. I haven't even read what their output was, but they just said that one thing there. And so that seemed like a good start. It doesn't look like we're getting more info. Let's go take a look here and see what they said. We can flag the log flag environment variable. Let's add more debug print statements to track the request flow. Add remote service. I don't think we need that. No. I mean, if there was a configuration problem, that might be actually useful to do. So maybe we should do some of this. And just carefully looking through these logs here. I'm not sure why PowerPoint's opening. I did not tell it to open. Just all of a sudden decided that it wanted to open. Receive chunks, response. It barely added anything. All it did was add this print statement here, which I guess we can put that in and take a look. But we need to find out where the HTTP request is occurring within that scheduler. I almost kind of want to like load the OPA here and load it directly from the files just to try to figure it out, because that's kind of how much of a pain we're having right now. This, I'm going to just say it. That doesn't really matter. I'm going to go to here. I really don't think this is going to do anything for us, but in case we find out that this is not set, add remote service. Where is it? Start. Add remote service here. Okay, we can check those first, because if they're blank, that would make sense, but I really don't think they're blank. And we'll scroll on down here. Let's verify the connection to OLAMA directly from the service. I'll add a single health check to ensure we can reach OLAMA. See, that sounds useful. Preview. So here, oh, it added it right in here. That's actually smarter, because then it will definitely get set. Check the OLAMA connection. Didn't know, but you could do preview. That's really nice. So AIO client session, and that could be another thing. Like it could be container to container. Maybe there's a networking issue that's causing it here. Removes that, which is fine. We don't use the microservice. We don't use those either. I wasn't expecting to kind of wipe those away right now, but because I might want to bring them back in a bit. Mm, it's a little bit aggressive with some of these things. Yeah, that's all fine. And if I need that other code, I can always just bring it back, so it's not a big deal. And I'll just hit, yeah, let's apply it. Let's hit apply, accept all. And so now we actually have, I don't know if it's going to work, but it now has a means to test it that way. We'll just take out this. I don't even, this log flag is working as expected, so we'll do this instead. And I'm going to go here and we'll try this again. And so now, if we go back up a step here, we should have more information. Not sure why this one's so darn big. Did this actually apply or what? I can't tell. Let's go back to our file here, which is in where'd it go? Right here, okay. Did it apply it? No, it didn't. So we have to go back here. I guess preview doesn't actually apply afterwards. I think it might have applied to the other file. So we'll say apply here. We'll say accept all. And so now, is it not going to apply it? Apply? It doesn't look like it's applying the code. Reject. We'll just reject it. I'm just going to manually paste it in. It's having a little bit of trouble here doing that there for us. So we'll go here. It's not a big deal, but we don't have to write it from scratch. That's for sure. That's nice. So I'm going to grab this. This is clearly new. And we'll put this here. And then we'll grab this async connection check. Okay, so this is now in here. We will scroll on down a little bit more. This is the add service remote here. And we have much more detailed printing. So I'll add that in here as well. That's good. I'm checking the start. And so what I want to see is, we don't need to see the example starting. That's pretty obvious. I want to see that endpoint check. We can put this in here as well. There we go. So that's now in here. And so it's doing this check first. Okay. And it seems fine. I mean, there's more stuff down here, but I don't really need it. So now we should now have that connection test, because that's what I really want to know. And we have an indentation problem. Where? That's the frustrating part when we copy all this stuff here. Oh, that one right there. There we go. Was that it? Nope. Oh boy. Where's the indent? Is it here? What is going on with our indentation? Why is it acting crazy here? Okay, so we got that. That should be fixed. Was it just that one line? It was. Okay, great. We'll go back over to here. We'll hit a refresh here. We'll go back to here. And it's saying we didn't import it, did we? We'll just have to say import. I'm not sure if that's part of the standard library, if it's already installed. I would think that it's already there, because if the underlying library is using it, it must already be accessible. So we'll go back over to here. We have a internal 500 error. Okay. So we see service configured with endpoint, testing Olama connection to 9000 API, 404. Interesting. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so is there, can you write me a curl command to health check the Olama command from my host? Because if it's not connecting, then that would be the initial problem here. There we go. Okay. I mean, is that actually going to work? We'd have to look up the API, but I'm going to go ahead and just check this here. I don't know if that is an API endpoint. So we'll say like Olama API. And we go to the docs. We found this the other day, that there are endpoints. Like, how does it even know that that's a thing, right? That doesn't make sense. Like, okay, is that a real endpoint for the Olama API? Because I'm looking at it, I don't see it here. Oh, you have to check the docs first. I see. I don't think it is. It's going to the same place that I just went. I mean, maybe we could check the version instead. Okay. So while it's figuring that out, I'm going to just write in version here and test this one instead. And we do get a version back, right? So here says, I apologize, there isn't actually, let me modify the code to more appropriate endpoint for checking it. And so here it's checking for tags. I don't know what tags are for this, but we'll take a look here. I'd rather probably just do versions, tags. List local models. Well, actually, that might not be a bad idea because then we would actually see what's going on here. So go here and say tags. I mean, that's definitely an endpoint. So maybe the model's not available. Oh, sorry, there's a V in the name, isn't there? So we go here and we can see, yeah, the model's there. So yeah, maybe we'll switch it over to that. So I'm going to go over to our health check. And or Olama connection check here. There it is. And here I see tag swapped out, but it might have it has more available models here. So we'll go ahead and grab this here. And I could see where like you might want to have the code to say like, hey, does this model actually exist before you do it? And so now we have this code in place. And so that's good. I mean, yeah, of course you can try the request. We don't get that one back, but we'll use this one to see if we get anything back here. And this one's not streaming, so the results should be a little bit more easier to deal with. So go ahead and stop this. We'll. What's the problem? This block is kind of acting weird, I noticed. Maybe it's supposed to have that. I mean, this one has it. Maybe I just didn't copy it right. That's probably what happened. So we'll go back over to here. We're going to go ahead and hit up. Okay. By the way, I noticed my mic's a little bit hot. I'm going to bring down the audio a little bit. I did a podcast the other day. I kind of forgot. And so we'll go ahead and this command. And we'll go back over to here. And so now what do we have? Okay, so now we know that from that container to the other one, that it definitely can access Olama. So Olama is running. We get a status 200 check. We can see available models. It absolutely is there. So that is a different problem now. So, okay. So we'll go here and just say like, yeah, so we are getting a 200 from the app for tags, and I can see its output. So maybe there is an issue with our payload being passed when it's scheduled. Okay, because what else could it be at this point? And down below here it says version 1 example service. Oh, is it, well, it should be example service, right? Because it's named that somewhere here. It says, no, this is our endpoint. Yeah, this is our endpoint that we hit for the 8,000, right? Yeah. And so here it's saying, yes, let's examine the payload we're sending in more detail. Looking at the orchestrator code, we need to make sure our request format matches exactly what OLMX specs. Let's add more detailed logging around the request formatting schedule. I mean, I'm not sure how much more formatting we need on that. Look, like, oh, let's see. Okay, here goes. Also, let's verify the exact format OLAM expects. According to the API docs, it's this. The only thing that's different is that the stream is a lowercase f instead of a capital one, but I would imagine that that would parse that data when it gets passed, right? So, and I mean, one thing we could do is we could test it, here first, right? And if we check this, that went to our output, right? No, it just printed it in place. Yeah, we get an assistant back, right? So here it's printing back and it's getting back the result. Interesting. So it still doesn't disable it. So maybe if we change this to F and then make this a string like this, like would that fix this problem? Or maybe the messages is passing messages within it. This is messages. Did we hold on? Does this payload parse before we actually pass along? Like, is this even a JSON payload or a structured data before we move it over? Like, what's the format of messages? I don't know why it also is asking about that stuff when we're printing out the request right here. So go back over here for a second. And so we go here. You know, doesn't this output tell us if our format is correct? I almost kind of like want something here to validate, like, oh, format is correct before you move on, right? This matches exactly what OLM expects. The format is correct and and all requires are there. Okay, let's examine where the request is being sent in the orchestrator, sending it to the execute command for orchestrator.py. I found the issue. It's a non-streaming case, which is what we're using. The code uses sessions.post, but it doesn't set the content type header. Let's modify the orchestrator to ensure the header is set correctly. Sorry, no, we can't modify orchestrator. We need to do this via the app.py. Okay, it doesn't understand. It thinks that it's part of our code base. Okay. But like we shouldn't have to set any kind of header because it should automatically already do that. While that's generating out, let's go take a look at the chat Q&A. So we'll say, here we'll go to, we might still have it open somewhere here. Bring this on down. And we make our way over to GenAI example. Oh yeah, I already have it open here. We have handle request. It also has this. Could we just use this to parse it? Because like, why are we doing all this handling if it could just do it this way, right? So we have data request.json, streaming object get true. why can't we just use this? Maybe we can use this. Parameters, LLM parameters. Retrieve parameters, re-rank parameters. Maybe this is our problem, that we're not consistently using the built-in stuff that would just abstract this away for us and not deal with it. Because we did say like, hey, go implement this handle request because we didn't read through all that code. And maybe that's part of our fault, right? Here they're doing this over here. I'm just going to ignore this. And I'm just going to carefully look at this. And maybe this is what we need to do. We need to implement these functions. So we go all the way to the top here. We have chat completion request right here, because that's what we're getting back, right? And it says input data, chat completion request here, right? And then output data. So it is expecting that structure and format. So maybe when we use these, it's actually parsing our object to be in the proper format that it expects it to be in. That's probably what it is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy, like I'm just going line by line and copying this stuff over. It's just hard to show it on screen at the same time. So they have like data await request.json. I don't think we need that, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to comment all this out. I don't care if it breaks, but we'll comment this out. I'm going to bring this one over first, right? And then I'm going to bring over the stream opt like this. And then I'm going to bring over this, the chat request like this. And I want to print each one of these. So let's say print data. And we have stream opt. It says data.getStream, which it would actually, I see, it's like it's parsing it and getting it, and then it's saying whether it's streaming or not. That makes sense. And then we'll say print chat request. Oh my goodness, this might make it super easy. If this works, if this is starting to get us on track, that's going to be really, really cool. I'd be really, really excited if that is where we need to go here. Again, you know, relying too much on not reading is our problem. So we'll go over here. And here, it's fine if it, okay. But I don't get any logs here. Oh, maybe because I went to the other one. So we got to go to our message here, and we'll go back. And we'll ignore those errors for now. That's totally fine. But what I'm looking for here, server error, exception ASGI. So there might be like some object can't be used in the await expression. Okay. I mean, this one's an async up here. And maybe it has to do with what we're passing along here. Notice it says request chat completion. It already is this object that it's suggesting. But over here, it just says request. Why is that? This is the raw request maybe? But if we go up to here to our actual service, this is us adding our remote services, right? And you can see that this, our LLM, where's our LLM? It takes in, oh, it doesn't say here. It says use remote service true. Let's go back over to here. We'll scroll up. And we have in here input data type, output data type. They don't even set these here. Ours is different. Like if you look here, scroll up here for a second. We have an LLM, which is a service. We call it a service for some reason. Service role, okay. Host, port, endpoint, okay. Input data, output data. Why is ours so different from this one? And if we go back to comps here, for the example service, I mean, theirs looks like that as well. Okay. So then why, like, where did we get those from? I don't even remember. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take a look at the microservice. I think I'm starting to get somewhere here with it. I think I'm starting to figure this out. If we go into comps, which we're in, and we go to comps here, we're going to go into core. And inside of core, we have our mega. And inside of mega, I mean, I don't know if necessarily that comes from mega. Let's go back and take a look here. We have here, oh, it's from comps. No, it's from the API protocol under cores. Comps core, okay. So we're in cores. What did they say, proto? API protocol. So in here, we have, oh, but we were looking for the service, right? Which is actually comps microservice. Is that what we did? We did, comps microservice. So that's actually where we need to go. We need to go to comps microservice. Is it common? No. What was it? It's hard to remember. Comps micro, it's just this comps microservice. That orchestrator came from the mega orchestrator here. Microservices right here, okay. So on the right-hand side, we can see what we have. The microservice here is an HTTP service. That makes sense. It does have input output. Oh, I remember reading this now. Yeah. So here we have input data type and output data type. We have provider endpoint, use remote service. I think what we did is we told it to read it and figure it out. Okay, that makes sense. It seems like if we don't even set that, it would already do that. So if we go over to here, let's see if we can pare this down a little bit. So the first thing is in the service. Oh, I thought this one. Oh, we have one up here and then we have one down there. Well, what's the difference? Oh, this is setting up the actual. Oh, right. So this is our actual main endpoint. Wait, well, hold on. Then what's this down here? No, this is our service. Okay, so this is our service. I know it's a little bit confusing, but we'll go back over to here. I think I'm figuring it out. Okay, so we set up our mega service as our service orchestrator. Here. Okay, so that's the same. And then under our add remote service, I don't see the same thing they have here, but they are defined endpoints, right? Retriever, re-ranker, LLM. So this part is similar. But do we have like a generic service one? Okay, so I think what we're seeing there is that I think this one's fine. This is the service that I'm getting mixed up here. Give me a second. I'm going to just try to figure this out for a second, come back, okay? All right, okay, so the start function. They have a start function too. This is where they define the service, which is our endpoint. And this one has chat completion, request, and response. That totally makes sense. Okay, so this one makes sense. And then the other one here is the LLM, which we have over here, and we have that as well, right? So we go here, we have our LLM here. LLM, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of the settings, they're looking pretty similar, right? So we have LLM, host IP, service port, chat completion, user remote service true, service type LLM. So that's all the same. That's all fine. So there's no issues there. We're not doing flow 2 because we don't need it. We're just going to add the service, which is fine. There's nothing to, I mean, this one will add them all. Like here, they'll say add. And then here it says flow to embeddings to retriever, flow to whatever, but it's just going to go straight to the LLM because there's nothing else to flow to. So the part that's really different is the handle request. And for whatever reason, their thing that they're returning here is just a request. They just say request here. And the other thing is that they're not even specifying that this is a chat completion response. They actually don't specify anything as the response. So they just have this, okay? And so now we're not expecting back a chat completion response, which is confusing because this one, that other one here, We don't have to parse the object to do it. So is it just a different way that we could do it, and the way we have it is more efficient? Because if we do this and we match the other code, I bet this is going to return the data now, because now it's just a raw Python thing. But then it says here, request is not defined, which is fine. So request is defined in fast API. So they're bringing in fast API, which we can do that, I suppose, like that. Is that how we want to do it? Well, we can try it. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And I don't know if we have fast API. Oh, we already actually have it there. Perfect. And so I'm going to go back over to here, and we'll start this up, and we'll run this here. We'll hit message, and we'll go back over to here. And I want to see if I get any output. Maybe we didn't get it. We'll try this again. And so now we're getting some output. And so here it says, okay, so we're getting the results. We have the data. We have the stream POT. It says the parse object method is deprecated. Use model validate instead. Deprecated since Pydantic version 2 to be removed in version 3. I don't know if that is the exact same thing, but I really hope it does. I guess it's using Pydantic underneath, which is our data validation thing for Python. So we will go back over to our code here. I'm kind of getting deja vu, as I feel like we were doing that before. We'll go ahead and say model validate, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and stop this and start this back up again. We'll go ahead and run this again. We'll go back over to here. And we do get back a chat request. Hopefully that format is the same as the other one. But we do have model validate, okay? And we do get back a chat request of an object. So now we're starting to get something on the same track here as the other one. Okay, so I'm going to go down to here. And we have this line done. And then we now have chat request messages, which will get us our prompt back. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to paste in this. We'll say print prompt, right? Also, just to make this a little bit easier to read, I'm just going to do this here, and then one here. We'll probably do two here like this. Yeah, that's what I want. Yep. Same thing with this one. Yep, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to stop this, start this up again, go back over to here, run this again. I'm going to go back over up to here, and I'm going to take a look again. And maybe that wasn't ready yet. We'll go back over to here. Yeah, sometimes I'm just going a little bit too far ahead. So we have data, stream pot, chat request. And then the next one it complains about. Handle message is not defined. Here, oh, because this is a function. So in somewhere here, there's a handle message function. Let's go take a look at it. Oh, it's up here. Oh, and it's part of the core's mega utils. Okay, great. So now we'll go back all the way to the top. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. I'm going to go ahead and hit up, and we will wait for this to start running, and we'll go back. It seems like that's the big problem. Like, there's clearly good key libraries, but they're not documented. There's no documentation whatsoever on these things, and that's what makes it really hard. Now we're getting our prompt in the proper format. Again, we're just following the existing example. And so now we have the LLM params, which I guess is a way that we could set up our parameters. Is this specifically for LLMs? It is. And this is another thing that we can import. So let's go ahead and bring this in here. And I'm going to go back over to here. And we will go ahead and bring this in here like this. Okay. And I'm going to go down to here. We'll copy this. We don't need all of this, but let's take a look at what is here. Okay, so now we're just step by step copy and pasting from the main one to figure out what's stuff going on here. And they have a really simple one here, but I'm going to paste in the big one. It's interesting I knew what to do next. And so here it looks like this is just allowing us to override any parameters. So it's saying this is the max tokens, otherwise set it to this. If it's this, then set it to this. And it says chat request. So the idea is that if the payload has the stuff and the stuff aligns, it can parse it from here. Stream opt is getting passed into here. That totally makes sense. So that is really simple. These are just normalizing, I guess, the responses that are coming back here. We're not using a retriever. We're not using a re-ranker. We're not using a result. Well, actually, hold on. This is the schedule here. So it says await mega service schedule. And it's scheduling multiple things. How does that work? Self.megaservice.schedule. Text, pass the prompt in. LLM parameters. Okay. And I suppose we could try that, and we have, and then if it's a streaming object, it's going to do this. Oh, well, we're just going to walk through this individually, but we don't have retriever parameters that we're using right now. We're not using re-ranker right now. So can we just omit those? Right? So we have schedule initial inputs, which I'm not sure why it would be anything else. But we do have that orchestrator right here, so we can kind of look at the code. We don't need it in here anymore, but we can just take a look at the service orchestrator. And so here it says LLM parameters, and then it has KW args, so it can take more stuff. Okay, so that's why I was able to do all those other args. How it can parse those other args is another question. So we'll go here, and we can see it creates a task at which it executes. And I guess if those other things that can execute needs the parameters, it can do that. And here it's actually expecting LLM params. We never passed that before, right? We passed it some other kind of structure, which is really surprising that it ever worked prior to that. And then it wants its initial inputs. I'd probably say I don't like the wording of some of these things, but I mean, as long as it's going to normalize it, that's all that matters, right? So we don't obviously need those two, and they're probably optional. We probably don't need them. And so I'm going to go here, and we're going to say print and see what the results there are there. We're going to hit stop. We're going to go hit up. We're going to go back over to here. We're going to go over to here. We'll flip back over to here. And we were too quick. Now we'll go back over to here. We're getting a Starlet response back, which is good. We can also go over to here and see what we get. We actually haven't been checking Ollama at all. Maybe it would have helped if we saw what Ollama was receiving, right? Maybe that was part of our problem. We never ever looked over here. The last one here provides a 400. That doesn't sound too good. I'm not sure how long ago that was, though. At least it's reporting over to Jaeger, so that's interesting. Oh, so okay, so Jaeger's also reporting to Ollama as well. That's cool. I'm just curious. If we go back to our search here. Oh, check this out. We got some reds. Latency issues. We have all in one. I mean, before we were focused on OPEA, maybe that's why we didn't see the other ones, right? Because this is all specific to, unless this is the microservice one. Nope, I'm terrible at going through traces. We'll go back over to here. And so now we have a lot more going on. All-in-one traces. Lots of stuff over here, operations. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm looking at, but at least we're getting output, so that's kind of nice. So we have the Starlight object, which is fine. We're going to go back over to that code. I'm just going to keep on copying it over. So here I'm here now, right? So I'm just going down the list and figuring it out as I go. Hopefully, folks, you are seeing that I'm doing that. So the next part is to grab in this part here, right? So we're going to grab this part in next. Actually, I kind of want to grab up to here because then we get a response. Here it says, if the response is streaming, then return the response now. And then last node, grab that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and grab this. And I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to paste in this part next. So paste this in. And we'll say print. Yeah. And so it'd be really cool if we got a response back here. But now I kind of feel, whoop, I didn't mean to stop that. But now I kind of feel like we're now providing it the proper formats of what the schedule is expecting it to receive, right? So go ahead and run this. And we'll go back over to here, and I'm going to hit start here. And we'll go back over to here. And so now, well, I don't see the response unless it's there, and I'm just not seeing it. So we have the result dictionary. But then after that, we don't see anything. I mean, we clearly have items, right? But why wouldn't this one print here? So like print, just like anything here. Oh, if instance is streaming response, return response. Well, what if we do print over here and we just say print streaming response response? Because it is actually a streaming response, isn't it? We're not supposed to get a streaming response back, but it sure as heck wants to make one. So we'll go ahead and do this. And again, it might be the way we're passing stuff in here. And then we'll just try this one more time. We'll go back over to here. And here we have streaming response. So it is a streaming response. Okay. Cool. But then if it stops there, right, and we go over here, then how does that work, right? Because we need this to get our stream response. So for node response, result dictionary item. So whatever's in here, iterate over it. And if the instance is a stream response, return the response immediately. Otherwise, it will continue on. It will do a runtime graph, all leaves, -1, whatever that's doing. It's going to grab the last text as the response. It's going to do choices.append, and it says chat completions choice responses choice. I think the responses choice is because sometimes LLMs return more than one thing back as a response choice, right? And so the rest of the stuff is probably fine if you have a chat completion stuff there. But here, this actually returns the proper response. But if it never gets to this other side, how would it ever return that? But maybe there's another part to parsing this. So I'm going to grab the rest of this. And I'm going to paste it in after this. Okay. And so this other stuff, I'm not expecting it to run, right? So you'll just say, not a streaming response. Again, I don't know why it's streaming when we told it not to stream. Maybe, can OLAMA be set to not to stream? Can OLAMA be set not to stream? How to disable streaming in the REST API. And so here it says, I tried it works. I assume you're referencing it. It adds an optional stream false param. Note that I didn't use just using curl. So here it's suggesting that if we did a stream false, it would do that. But I haven't seen that work as of yet. So if we go back over to here to our, we'll call it like OLAMA test. OLAMA test. Let's go up back over to this one. I believe that this one is going to stream the result, right? If we copy this one, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And it's fine if it streams initially. But maybe we should just test and see if we can get it to not stream first. Again, ideally we want it to stream, and we got to figure out how to handle that. That's kind of the hardest part. But we'll go back over to here. I'm going to stop, and I don't even need that running right now. That one doesn't matter. But I'm going to go here and do a chmod u plus x bin message, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and do bin OLAMA test. And so here, well, the port's a bit different, right? I think we're running it on 9,000 right now. That's why. And so we'll go ahead and hit up. And so it's streaming. That's fine. That's fine. We don't care about that. I'm going to go ahead and say stream, and we're going to say false. Because if we pass it that payload, it shouldn't stream, right? We should have full control of what we want it to do. And so notice that it's delayed. That might be a good thing because it's trying to generate out. And so now it comes back with a single response. It's not streaming now, right? So clearly the stream flag does work with OLAMA. So there's no question about it that it should be able to take that. But if we told it not to stream, it should not return back a streaming response. And so we should really focus on that. But here it's set to true. Okay, so I mean, that kind of makes sense because, well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but I kind of understand why that's an issue there. But it says get stream true. Why would it say get stream true? Oh, maybe like if it's not set as stream, then make it true, right? That's probably what it is. It's like if, then do that. That's probably what's going on here. So if we go back over to our message, we don't have stream false in here. So we'll go ahead and just put stream false. And maybe that's what it wanted this entire time to stop being such a jerk. I mean, again, we should still make streaming work, but now we're just going down a different route, right? So now instead of going to the streaming part, it's going to go to this other part of the code. So here it's obviously killing at this point and saying, oh, you're streaming a response? We'll do this, and you have to handle that there. And we obviously are having issues with that. I can't even get the components out, so that has to be handled a certain way, assuming those parts are actually being returned. And assuming before that we were giving the payload correctly, now that we're now using the normalization. So now we're onto this part of the code. And so we're expecting a not streaming response, and we're expecting this to print out the proper thing, right? So if we go here, back over to here, this is running good. Okay, there's some other stuff there. That's cool. I'm going to go back and we'll just take out this log flag true. Doesn't really matter there. We'll hit up. And we'll go up and we'll hit, give it a moment there. And it's not Olama test. We want to do the message, right? And there's something wrong with our code here. It looks fine to me, maybe because it wants it to be like this. Like, why is that a problem? Literal line. I'm gonna try to take this out for a second. Now it's fine. We do stream equals false. It should be able to handle those. It can't. Are Booleans not part of, I thought they were a part of JSON. That's fine, we'll just give it like this. It still has a problem. We take this out. Now it's not a problem. What am I doing? We go here, right? We say stream false. Maybe it's not an issue with this. It's an issue with this part of the code. So if I go here, I'm just going to comment this out for now. Internal base error. Well, we'll go back over to here. Oh, well, this is the response that comes back. Sorry. So that's the problem isn't this, okay? The problem isn't, there's no problem with this. This is fine. It's the payload that's coming back from this is complaining. And so at this point, our code problem's over here. That's why. And so if we go back over to here, it's saying it has an issue with this part here. And it's actually repeated twice, so that's maybe part of our problem. So we'll just take that out. I'm not sure why it wants to cross this one out. I'm going to ignore that one. I don't think that there's anything wrong with this one. It really wants to get rid of that line. I don't know why. We'll run this again. We'll go back over to here. It says error text. It doesn't know what it wants from there. Well, if we go up a bit. So it says no streaming response, which is fine. This is the result dictionary, which is here. It has a problem with the runtime graph. So we'll go ahead and grab this here. RT graph, runtime graph, there we go. So maybe that will tell us a little bit more about our code here. And so we get a DAG back. Okay. So then, so this is actually returning back the DAG. Okay. It says runtime graph all leaves -1. Maybe it has to do with the fact that we only have a single node. Because when we add things to it, that's probably where we're having some issues. So let's, what does this code do? Right? It has something to do with a DAG being created. We only have one node, so will this code cause issues? Because that's what I'm thinking, right? And that's just checking the DAG implementation. DAG is a diacrylic graph. We'll give it a moment here. So it says here, inherits from DAG. Runtime gets the last leaf node in the graph. A leaf node is a node with no outgoing edges, no children. In our case, we only have one node in the graph, so all leaves will return just one node. Negative gets the single node. This code is safe to use even when the code is here. Okay, but if that was the case, maybe what we should do is print out what the last node is. Well, here we have last node, right? And then we have result dictionary. Oh, okay. So let's go print. We'll say last node. I see. Okay. And then we'll stop this. We'll start this back up. We'll go back over to here. We'll give it a moment. You can see it started up. We'll go back over to here. We'll check. And so now what I'm looking for is the last node. What's the last node? So here we have chat request, prompt, result dictionary. So you have result dictionary. It must mean to select this. Like this is what last node must return, and it does. So whatever's in here is what it can do. And it's not text that it's getting back, it has an error. It says error, message blank is too short, messages or whatever. So we go back here, and the problem is it doesn't do error handling on here. So it says message is too short. So here I go here and say, I have an error issue. So I need error handling for the results dict, right? So we go here, and we don't have error handling. So that's why it makes sense, because it is selecting the last node, but there is it has to check whether there's a type invalid request error first, right? So if we go and take a look here, last node, yeah, it should check. Okay, you're gonna give me a little bit more code here, buddy? There we go. So last node, result dictionary, check if it's there, check if we got an error response, right? Because if we did, then handle the error. Otherwise, we'll process it as per usual. And then we go along our merry way. So that is what we need, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this part, and we'll go all the way up to here, right? And we'll copy that. And then from here, we'll go all the way to here. And we'll paste this in like this, right? And so now we have error handling. Now, is this error handling good? I'm not sure. I mean, it is checking on this one. There could be more errors that we have to handle. And is this a good way to bubble up errors at this part of the code? I don't know. As this does return back an HTTP request, so clearly that would probably work over here. Well, actually, is that the code we copy and pasted? It is. Because over here, they have chat completion response. So if there was like an error, is there like a special one that we're supposed to use for that? I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and see what happens when we do that. We'll type in clear here. And so I'm just hitting up and running our message again. And we'll go back over to here. And I'd rather, so we get actually back a 400 bad requests. Perfect. So now it's doing what we want it to do. We can't exactly see the error here. We'd have to go back over to here and look at the dumped data. Well, this one didn't return anything. It didn't tell us anything. Because I think we changed it. No, we still do the response output. I kind of wish that the output folder was a little bit easier to navigate. Maybe just because I'm not sure which is the latest one. I guess the bigger number is the latest one. Are they doing them in order? They are. So then the one at the bottom is going to be the latest. Here. Message is too short. Okay, so now we know how to check our messages. Blank is too short. So clearly something's not getting passed in here. And so now we're getting really close to actually getting this to work. So I'm going to go back over to here. And so, I get this. So is there something wrong with my payload? I am using the message file to send a curl. Okay, hopefully it can reason it. Really got to give it more detail than that. But okay, so hold on here. I don't know if you can hear, my stomach just keeps growling, but all I can hear is that. So stream false, the way we're handling the request, we need to see what's happening in the request. Let's add that. Well, you might need it. I don't need to see it. I already know what it looks like. And here it goes, validate required fields. And I mean, really, we should, I mean, the other thing kind of already does that, but I mean, we already have, let's go back here. Let's go back to our code up here. And so the thing is that the message is too short is what it's saying. The message is too short. But I mean, it can see what's being passed here and the data is being printed out here, right here. So I don't understand. I mean, it can't see our logs. Maybe if there's a way we could say, look at our logs, that'd be really useful. Maybe Windsurf can do that. I just haven't figured out a way to bother to learn how to do that. So we have our endpoint example service here. This is the data that is being passed here. Maybe it's the structure of this data here, right? Maybe this is what's wrong. The request data is correct, but we need to modify how we're handling it. The error is happening because we're using handle message, but not properly formatting the request for the LM service. I thought we were formatting it properly. We're following the chat Q&A for it. So here it's suggesting what is it suggesting? It makes me think that there's something wrong with this, right? User, hello, this is a test message. Now, what would be really useful is if we went back to the chat Q&A, if it had an example of what it was expecting. Because if it had that, then we would know, right? We'd be like, oh, okay, that's an example of request that's coming in here. But we don't know. So we don't know what it's expecting to parse for this here. But I guess the other thing is, like, if we get the chat request back, wouldn't there be like a way to validate that? Properly convert the string false to Boolean false. Okay, I'm not sure if that's our problem, but format the message into a prompt string that Olama can understand. Create a proper request format, the LM service that includes these things. So let's take a look here and see what it's trying to do. I'm going to just pause here and see if I can speed through it. I mean, something we can do, I keep thinking that it doesn't like that, but we could just make this a Boolean to rule that one particular one out just so that it stops complaining. I really don't think that's our problem, but we'll go ahead and just test that just quickly here and see what happens. Now we got to run it maybe. And yeah, we still get the same problem, which is fine. Let me continue on here. Let me see what else there is. One thing I was thinking is, why don't we just try to figure out on the Olama side what's happening? And so I just looked up that error, message is too short. I'm not saying I have the answer, but it says try and use a custom function with OpenAI agent. It's not Olama, but it's using the standard API. And it comes back here, and what do they get? So it doesn't tell us fully what's going on here, but maybe what we should be checking is, is Olama, right? So here's a question. do we get back here? Like, do we see any calls here that's occurring, right? So here we have this one here, right? This one is 213219. I'm gonna just copy that so I don't have to remember. And I just want to see that this is incrementing, right? So we'll go back over to here. We're gonna run this. And yeah, it's incremented. And so here we see a post. It's it looks like it's using, well, it's obviously using Golang. Well, sorry, that might be Jagger actually. Is it? It says Jin. Maybe Olama runs, maybe it's a Go program. Didn't think of that. But here we can see that it's running. So I guess my question is like, how do you debug Olama? Maybe that's a better question. How to debug Olama API calls. Like, is there a way to have more robust troubleshooting? And so it says, sometimes Olama may not perform as expected. One of the best ways to figure it out is what happens. Take a look at the log files. Oh, well, let's do that. This entire time, we've never tried to open this up and take a look. So let's go ahead and view the logs. And, oh, I mean, I'm just viewing the logs, but what we should do is not the logs of the container, but yeah, that's not going to be useful. Let's actually go into the container. So we'll attach the shell. And it says here to cat. And is there an Olama directory? There is. Logs. I don't know how this would not be the same thing, though. I don't have any server logs. I don't even have a logs folder. But here, this is where they say it is. Okay. So say Olama. Say Olama container logs where the Olama server logs are saved under your mounted Jetson directory. What the heck is that? Is that the one we're using? I'm not even sure if that's actually it. This is Olama. But this could be a fork of it, right? It says Dusty NV version of it. So, like, what if we do Olama? Will we get more information here? So this is the one that we're actually using. It's a sponsored OS. Let's increase the size here for a little bit here. We'll scroll on down. Configure the repo. Okay, NVIDIA, that's cool. Configure the repository. Configure Docker to use NVIDIA drivers. Start the container. Add GPUs. Run locally. Okay, could I learn a little bit more about what's going on here? Because I don't understand where the logs are going. I mean, if there are other logs for us to check. Because here it has, well, maybe we could try this. Yeah, journal. Sometimes journal works. No, journal command doesn't exist. When you run, oh, it says right here, when you run as a container, you get the SDL. Oh, so that's all we're going to get. All right, so we actually are already getting the logs. I thought maybe, because I thought there might be more detailed logs. But is there like a way to get more detailed logs? So Docker PS, if you're manually running serve, the logs will be on that terminal. When you run it on Windows, there are a few different locations. Don't care about that. LLM libraries, experimental LLM library override, installing this here, NVIDIA troubleshooting, GPU troubleshooting, AMD troubleshooting, Windows terminal troubleshooting. So not enough information to figure out like what our problem is. Because that error is just very generic, but it seems like we should be pushing on Olama part because it clearly is receiving the payload. We're clearly using the proper formatters that is expected via the chat Q&A example. And so our issue is more on the Olama side. I think our mega service is configured correctly. So let me see if I can find more. So one thing I was thinking is like, can we see what the payload is? And I keep thinking like maybe we get that through traces, right? And something like, does Olama have support? Everyone's saying, please add like OTel to Olama, right? And they talk about like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and that, and it's a feature request right now. So this is open. There is a working implementation, but because that's not what we have, I can't use it. And so basically, we don't have visibility into Olama. Maybe that's why Olama doesn't make sense as a production use case, because it's missing this key component to be able to debug and see what's inside of it. So right now we're we're debugging blind because we're trying to get as close to the source as possible. And so we don't know what, like we can see maybe on the outside of what schedule has, but because there's so much stuff, so many layers there, we can't clearly see what payload is being sent. And we can't clearly see what payload is being received, but we can tell that we're getting that darn error that doesn't tell us a whole lot. So I'm going to have to just bash my head against the wall till it bleeds and the answer comes out. So give me a moment, okay? Another thought I had is that we have the prompt and it's in a format here, but we have this text prompt area here. And I wonder if this is our problem, okay? Because when we use this one here, right? When we're using this one here, it is orchestrating to multiple services. So it says embeddings, retrievers, re-ranker, LLM. What format would the embedding want as its input, right? Maybe that's what it wants. It just wants text, right? And the problem here is that it's saying, hey, you didn't give me any messages. So maybe this is our problem, right? Because it's going to go to the first one and it's expecting this to be in a very particular format. So it's either we just pass the prompt along or the message is along here. So here it handles the handle message and we're going to pass that along here, right? Oops. Or we might need to like tell that we're passing a message along. So let's try this. We'll try a couple things here, but this is where I think we're getting kind of closer. Okay, and so I'm going to we'll get out of that for a second. You know, and then we'll go up to here and we'll hit up. And so that's fine. We don't care about that. And so here, it didn't like how we passed it in. Okay, so I don't think we can just pass prompt in, right? I don't think that's going to work. But let's try, again, this is just me guessing, but let's say it wants messages as its input. So we'll go and just undo this for a second. So let's say messages. Maybe that's what it wants. Right now, I'm not sure if it just gets a single message or not. It says handle message. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. Hit up. We'll go here and hit up. I'm not sure if it took it, so I'll do that one more time. And we have 400 bad requests. That's okay. And so now we have user hello test init message. We're not getting any super bad stuff. Is this actually the same one? Let's go back and go all the way to the top here. Messages is too short. Delete permanently, delete. So go ahead and do that. All the way like that. I can't really tell what's new or old, so we'll go ahead and just clear this out. And I'm gonna run this one more time and we'll take a look here. We'll give this a refresh, we'll check. Ah, a different error. A different error. How about that? Cannot unmarshal string into Go structured field ChatGPT request messages of type message. Okay, so maybe what's going on here is, you know, we have that format here, right, of whatever that is, prompt. But what does it want here? What is initial input supposed to be? So this is where we got to do a little bit more digging because this is our problem. This is where it is. We have narrowed it down. So I need to go into comps here. And in here, in this, the mega service. That was in the orchestrator. We'll go back a step. In the orchestrator, it is, we have that schedule function, right? Which should be here on the right-hand side. Their schedule. And here we have initial inputs, and it takes a dictionary. So clearly we can't just pass a string like there before. That totally makes sense. If we had log flag on, then it would show us the initial inputs. So that would be really useful to see what's being passed in. We have it set to true, but we're not seeing it. So maybe it's logging to a file or wherever the logger is, and maybe we haven't configured our logger, and that's why we're not seeing our output, or it's somewhere. And so it goes to the execute command, and it does initial inputs here. So now we're following through to the execute. And so execute is here. Okay, well, where's the function defined? That's what I want to know. So where's def execute? Let's look for execute. Let's let's do it this way. Here it is. And so it takes that init inputs here. Is that what it was? Let's go back here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I wish they used the names so we could just tell what they were. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no. We ignore self. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're on inputs, right? So we're carefully going through here. And here's where we get to some code. So we have our LLM dictionary that we're grabbing out of here, right? And then we have if this is a VLLM. So it's detecting if it's VLM. I'm assuming this is VLLM or is it VLM? I'm not sure. If is LM VLM, what's that supposed to be? We don't know. It doesn't say. But the point is it'll say LM parameters, get the items, iterate through them. We have inputs here. Then we have preprocess, so self-align inputs. We still want to focus on this inputs here because I'm trying to figure out by looking at the code what we can understand. So it goes inputs.getField. If the get field does not equal that, so iterate through each one and then set the fields. All right, so maybe it's doing a transformation of the format of the thing, right? I don't know. So you have align inputs. So we pass the inputs here and it's doing some pre-processing. So this could be doing something. Let's take a look at this one. It says override this method in the mega service definition. Oh, okay. So if there's a problem, we could override this. Also, we could also use this as a debug point to figure out what's going on. Now we know how we could debug stuff. But it says override this method in the mega service definition. I don't know how to override in Python. I know how to do it in Ruby. So if I knew how to do that, that could be really good for debugging. If it is LLVLM, again, I don't know if this means it's VLLM, but VLLM, still leave it to this, do the logging here, do whatever, go down here, go downstream. Where is this getting called? So we have inputs here, it's logged here. Oh, here it is, request.post. So it's making a request and it's dumping the contents of inputs. That's all it's doing. This is it right here. This is the magic line that we're looking for. If we can do JSON dumps.input and see exactly what it's here, then we can debug it. That's what we needed this entire time. Let's go over to here. The magic, it's no longer magical. We know exactly what's happening behind the curtain here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And we're going to take the inputs. And I'm going to print it here. And it says that, but I'm going to be a little bit more dramatic here. And I'm just going to say, this is actually prompt. And I'm going to go above here. And we're going to say, don't look behind the curtain. Or is it ignore the man behind the curtain? It's a reference to Wizard of Oz, folks. Okay, so we'll do this a few times. We'll do this a few times. And we'll give this one go. I think it already does a new line break at the end. I just can't remember anymore. And so this is what we've been trying to find this entire time. Sometimes you just crawl through the code. It's fine. So we go here. And it says user hello input message. So this is what it's doing. What payload does it want to work to make it work? It wants prompt. I mean, we could make it just that. But I guess the question is like, could we do this in the other structured message? Because I think it can. So we're going to do like Olama test messages, because we can send it this way if we want to, but what if we want to send it like a chat history or something? I thought that's something we could do so they can continue on the conversation. But I'm going to paste this here. We're going to grab not this curl, we'll go down here and grab the other code here, because remember we have both this one and that one, right? I don't care if they both work, that's great. And this is testing the app in the mega service, so I actually want to go to this one here. Is there another way to generate a request? Let's go back to the API and take a look here. We'll say OPEA API. And, oh, not Olama API. We'll go to generate. Create a model, generate. I don't want to generate embeddings, I just want to generate. We'll have generate a completion. That's the API generate. And that only takes a prompt. That's what we've been using, but we actually want to do chat completion. We actually haven't even been testing chat completion this entire time. We've just been doing message. So this here, if we go back to, we'll make it really clear. This test is no good. It's not actually testing what we want to test. So I'm gonna delete this out, that one. And we actually want to go to the chat API. This is what we've actually wanted this entire time, and we haven't been doing that. So now we're using the chat completion endpoint. And here we'll go down. I'm hoping they just have an example. They do. Perfect. This is what we want. So go ahead. And I assume we can also set it to stream false, right? Or whatever. Maybe we can, I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and paste this in. So this is, why is the sky not red? Okay, and so I'm going to go back over to here, and we're going to test our Olama message. And here, if we can get this to work, then we can get the other one to work, right? So invalid character after object valid pair, key pair. I'm not sure what to tell you. I used what you told me to use. And so we'll go back and take a look here. I can copy the whole thing, but I don't want streaming, right? Oh, maybe we're just missing the comma. You know what? I couldn't see it because it was filling. Well, I thought it would. I didn't realize it wasn't there because of the auto completion. It made me think that it was already there. So it's getting mixed up. So now we'll run it. And it's thinking, it's coming back. There we go. Okay, so the input's back. That's excellent. Let's go back over to here. And so now we know what structure it has to be. We don't even need to run this to find out. But this is what it wants, right? And so we have messages like this. But the problem with that handle thing is that it distorts the stuff. So I think what we should do is we should have a little bit more conversation here. What if we have more than one going here? So here's a stream response, here's the stuff. But this only has one user and whatever. So OpenAI messages format. Because I need to just see a little bit more than what they have here. So we have role developer. No. What's the other role for it? Assistant. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't that or bot or something else. So here I might say user, hello, this is a message. And then what I'm going to do, there we go. And then now I'm going to go here. And so now it's a little bit more complex, but the reason I'm doing that is because I need to see what happens if like for our output, right? Because I want to know what it does to that. Does it only grab the last question? Or does it pass the entire history? Because if it doesn't pass the history, it's not going to act in a way that we want it to act, right? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this here. We're going to start this back up. We're going to go over to here. And we're just going to do a message, a plain Jane message here. We don't care what it says. Well, there's a little bit of a problem here, I think. And is this a problem? Don't know. Doesn't look like there is. But I'm going to go over to this side here and see what it says. I don't think it's even sending yet. And yeah, this is where the LLM kind of gets in your way. So there's some formatting issue here. I can't see it. Give me a second, okay? Oh, here's the problem. It's because of this one right here, see? So what's the suggestion? Backslash it. Is that all we got to do? It's suggesting this. This is really bizarre to me, but if it works, that doesn't seem right to me. Let's just take it out. What is the weather today? There we go. That'll just make our lives a bit easier. And so now what we'll do is just close this out here. We'll go and hit enter. The message happened there. We have a bad request. But that's okay, because we want to see what the output looks like when we go validate it here. So now what we have is user, what is the weather like today? Assistant, no response content available. Notice that it didn't pass along. Oh, well, maybe that's fine. Oh, no, this is the last one, user. But we have 3 messages, right? We have content, hello. Oh, we're missing a curly here. No, it's there. Why don't we see all 3, though? User, assistant. Huh. Why do we only see 2? That's unusual. We'll run this again. Well, hold on. We'll just stop this for a second. We'll start this back up. And we'll check this again. Because if there's 3 there, shouldn't we see all 3, right? And we'll go back over to here. And it seems like, well, we're getting all the messages passed along, so that's not our issue, obviously, of what our problem is. But I don't understand. Cannot unmarshal string into Go structure for this stuff. Invalid request, no params, code none. And again, I'm not sure if this is really a problem, but I'm confused why we're not seeing all 3 here. If we go more to the top here, we see, hello, this is a message. Okay, role assistant, no response content available. What's the message here today? We're here and it says, hello, this is a message. It's here in the chat request. It's in here still. But then why does it format it like that? Why does handle request truncate it out? There's probably a reason, but they don't document it, so we don't know why. So maybe there's handle request somewhere in here. We have handle in here somewhere, handle. Oh, no, this is the wrong one. Do we have handle in here anywhere? Request. I think that was under, if we go to cores here into proto, and maybe it was doc array. Do we have handle here? Handle? No. Maybe it was under API protocol. Handle. No. Where did we get this handle function? Is it our own implementation? Handle. Request. Oh yeah, it's right here. Handle request. Oh, but that's not the one we're worried about. It's handle message, right? Where does handle message come from? Handle message. Mega utils. So we go back over to here, into cores, into mega utils, and then we need handle. So we have this over here. Handle message. So if an instance is a message of messages, okay, then return back this. If instance is messages is a string. Okay, so if it's a string, just turn it back to the prompt, right? If it's not, and it's something else, because we actually have formatted and done stuff with it, then do some formatting on it here. And so what is it doing? It's going to go through the messages and check for each role. If the role has a system, then it's going to set the system prompt here as message content. If it's a user, then it's going to do some stuff here. If it's a assistant, it's going to do that. But what I don't understand is, like, why is it truncating to the last 2 messages? If it has images here, then it can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Right, so I have, we'll go over to here, and we can just ask it to do some code explaining. So I'll make a new conversation. That conversation's been going on forever. You know, I have a curl that delivers a messages payload here. Message. I have this code that formats the messages. Why is it not returning all three and only message in the messages? Okay, hopefully it understands messages in the messages. So it says here, in your code, the message is being built using a dictionary where the keys are role user assistant. The problem is that when you have multiple messages with the same role, like 2 user messages in your curl, the later message overwrites the early one because the dictionary can't have duplicate ones. In your curl request, first message is this, second, but in your code, it'll only contain this to fix this. But like the key changes are replace the dictionary message and go here. When these are changes, the output should now include all 3 messages. Okay, so I think I found a bug with OPEA. Unless like, do you think it was intentional to only have 2 messages? Because maybe it's supposed to be. It was intentional to only have 2 messages in the file. The code is being used as part of a chat completion. Looking at how messages are processed in the app.py, it's treating this conversation context where you typically want the most recent user query, the previous assistant response, the query response. The dictionary-based approach, while it may seem like a bug, could actually be intentional to maintain a sliding window of context, keeping only the most recent message from each role type. However, if you do need to preserve the full conversation, my previous suggestion about using a list-based approach would be more stuff here. So I don't know if this is right or wrong because it's not documented. If it's not documented, we don't know what the intention is. So what we'll do is we'll go to handle requests and we'll put a big warning here. So we'll just say to do ask OPEA if it's intentional to only have the last 2 messages because the dictionary keys overwrite previous ones, so you won't get full history. Okay, and so this is something is this if the handle message is intentional to only have that, because that's something we need to know, right? Now, it's fine if it's only the last 2, I can work with that, but we need to know why things are happening the way it's happening. So now here we have messages and prompt. And this is the thing, and we said that it was going to take it and then stringify it, right? Because we had that debug line here. Did I remove that debug line? Oh, well, we have the prompt here, but we never, no, I think that's fine, but we need to go back over to our OPEA code here for a second. So in our OPEA code, not the utils, but go back here into the mega, into the orchestrator. We need to find in the schedule, right? And in here, we know that there is a response happening somewhere in here, right? So it's a post here. And it's just dumping it. That's all it's doing. It's just dumping it. So whatever this dumps is what we get. So JSON.dumps, it dumps it to a string, I believe, right? JSON dumps? Yeah, I think it's just a string, right? JSON dumps. We'll convert into a string. So that's exactly what it's doing. So whatever it dumps is what we're going to get. So if we go back over to here, right? And we have messages, that's fine. And we print it out. We get user assistant, so we have the 2, which is fine. And we want to match the structure of this one, which is messages, and then it's an array. So I think that's what it's doing. the way that we can absolutely know that it is the structure that we want, right, is we'll go to the initial thing here, right? We'll grab this here. And then we'll say initial inputs here. And then I'll say initial inputs print json.dumps. Okay, and so now if it dumps it and it looks like the format that we were expecting it to be, we can debug it from there, and we're getting closer. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. We'll go that. We'll go to the next one over here. Oh, I stopped the wrong service, didn't I? So stop this, start that. Oh, we got a lot of cool stuff in there. That's cool. We'll go all the way down to the ground here. So this one should be started. This one's been restarted. We'll go ahead and run this. And so now what I'm looking for here is this. And so it says messages, user, look the problem. We see it right in front of our faces. It says messages, user colon, what is the weather like today? And an assistant. So it's formatting it as a string. Okay. But then the other part of it is going to do a JSON's dump. So it's doing something that we don't want it to do. Right. And this format might make sense if we are inputting this as the embeddings, right? Because that other one's following a chain of stuff. And so this one here, it says, okay, so note, I think handle message should not be used when you are directly passing to an LLM. I think this is for formatting for an earlier model in the pipeline, which we don't have. Okay, that's probably our problem. So instead of doing this, we have chat requests. Let's just take a look at what chat requests are now. So instead of this, we're going to do chat request messages, right? And I mean, this is just a repeat down here. We never actually did the thing that I said we were going to do, which was actually here. We did do it, but it's right here. And so I want to see what that is, because we might not have to do this at all. Well, actually, we probably do, because we're getting dot messages, right? So we'll run this again, and now we'll see what we get. We'll hit up. We'll go back over to here. And it has a little bit of problem, because it's not called that, right? It's just called this. 1 second. Sorry, there's this noise outside my door. But anyway, this is the response back here. And so it's just going to be chat request messages. And that's what it needs to be. Okay? And we'll leave that dump in there, but I don't think we need this anymore. We're going to stop this. We're going to hit up. We're going to wait for this to start. We're going to go back over to here. We're going to give it a refresh. Or sorry, like hit the endpoint again. And we still have a prompt issue. I thought we got rid of prompt. Is it still in here? It is. It's supposed to be chat. Oh, is this not even, oh, because we're not passing it in here, that's why. So we say init inputs here. Okay, we're going to stop and start this. And we'll hit up. We'll go back over to here. And we'll scroll up a little bit. Scroll up, yep. And so here, we have this, but we're also getting a bunch of stuff we don't want. Yeah, so, well, no, that's a chat request. That's actually fine. So we have an error here somewhere. Where is it? Tuple.no attributes.get. Okay, so we'll go back up to here. And why is there a comma here? Maybe that's our problem. The comma's not supposed to be there. So we'll go here and we'll get hit up. Do this again. Go back over to here. 500 internal error, that's okay. We have result dictionary, that's fine. No streaming, that's fine. But what I'm looking for is this dumps. I can't tell if it's actually doing it or not. We have chat request. So we'll just make this way more clear. We'll just say print stringified. We'll just call it payload. Payload. And we'll say n, 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 n. And then we'll do that here like this. And then we'll go after this. N, n, n. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll stop it. We'll hit up. We will wait for that to start up again. We'll go back over to here. We'll hit up. We'll go back over to here. And I'm going to scroll up. Here's our payload. Does our payload look correct? I think it does, right? Carefully looking at it, I think that's the payload we want to happen. So that's fine. So now our payload, I'm pretty confident that it's correct. So now we have the results of the dictionary that come back. It came back pretty darn quick. And so we have API error, model is required. So the model is not being passed along with our payload. Well, where were we using it before? Okay. So, yeah, so this is going to validate the model, make sure the format's correct. We have chat request. And so, I mean, this comes back with a prompt. And then in here, we have this. I see. So now we're just reconstructing it. Now, I don't know if we have to do that. Maybe there's another helper function I'm just not aware of. But for now, we'll go here and we'll say model. And then it will be chat request model. That's right. And then if it's not streaming, we'll say, well, does that set it? Well, it has it over here in the options here, right? So if it has it there, I don't think we need to set it other places. Unless we could put them in the LLM params, I don't know. But this would definitely fix our problem for that part. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to stop this, start it up. The question is it going to stream now? We're getting really close to solving it now. Real close. We'll go back, hit up. We'll go back over to here. We get a 500 internal error. We get our payload. We'll go down here. Model is required. It's still complaining about model is required. We're passing the model. We're passing it. It should be, well, hold on. Let's take a look at our payload. Model's right here, right? What does it want over here? Model, same thing. Model is being passed. So it makes me think that the model has to get passed a different way, right? So if we go back over to our LLM params, let's take a look at this specific thing. Maybe the model is supposed to be inserted here somewhere, or maybe it gets inserted somewhere else. Model. How does it know what model it's supposed to be? So here, don't see nothing. All I can think of is it gets past the LLM params. It's either that or it gets passed in the schedule. But it must be in the LLM params. So this is something we need to go look up. Where is LLM params? It's here. It's in the doc array. So what we're going to do is go back over to here. We're going to go to cores. We're going to go to, what is it? Proto doc array. Proto doc array. And in here, we have LLM params, right? Here it is. Model, optional. We don't have it set. That's where we need to set it. Okay, so that's going to solve our problems. Also, stream gets set in there as well, which we actually do set, I think. So now what we'll do is go down here and we'll say model equals chat model. We'll take this part out. So now the input type should be correct. But yeah, the other thing is like, if it adds it in that other spot, then why does messages have to be in this format? Right? So, but anyway, we'll figure that out here in a second. Maybe we're not 100% correct with our thing. Maybe we don't have to wrap it in messages. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go ahead and hit up. I'm going to run this here. We'll give it a moment. It was going really slow. That's actually a really good indicator. We came back. We have a 500 error, but it says, I'm not capable of providing real-time weather information, however, whatever. So we got a response back. It says unexpected response format. So the response came back. So now we're hitting the LLM. That's really good. but now it's saying that it's in a format it's not expecting, which to me is a bit of a surprise. So somewhere here, unexpected. So check if we have a text field. Okay. I don't know why it would expect a text field back. Maybe because the old code. But here it's message, right? So we'll go here, and I think that our error handling is wrong here. And we'll say here, and it's saying, I think our error handling is wrong because we get a payload back. And for some reason, our error handling is checking for text. I'm going to just let that think for a second there, but we're going to go back to the chat Q&A example here. Wherever that is. You're somewhere here, right? Chat Q&A? Chat Q&A examples, OPEA. And we'll go here. And I'll go into here, and I'll go into Intel, and I'll go into... No, we don't have to go that far. It's more top level here, right? It's in the chat Q&A right here. And so what I'm looking for in here in the chat Q&A is... Oh, we got some Chinese characters. Nice. Go down here. What I'm looking for in the chat Q&A is I want to see its handle request here. So here we have LLM params, retriever params, re-rank params, and so it goes here, and we get a response back, and this one just checks text. Why is it looking for text? Why does it want text? I don't know why it normalizes on that. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. So go up to here and says, I see your issue. It is expecting text, but the format we're getting is an OpenAI style completion response format. The actual response is nested under the following. That's right. Let's just apply it. We'll say accept. Just accept all. Just work. Maybe I'll regret that in a second. We'll go here. We'll hit up. Okay, we'll go back. We got a 200. We got a 200, folks. If we go back over to here, it's not streaming. That would be another challenge. But we are now somewhere. We were nowhere, now we're somewhere. We come back here. I'm not able to provide, it worked, perfect. So we don't have streaming working, but through trial and error, we were able to dig through all of that code, understand where code is coming from. Old techniques still win. You can see that the LLM led us astray. It did not have enough context. If it had enough example code out there, like if there was more articles online and stuff like that, if this bootcamp generated up more articles, then we would be able to stand this up a lot faster, a lot better. Whatever I was doing was not clearly working, but now we have something that is working. And this was 3 hours, and it was almost 3 hours. It was painful, but we did get through it. I think we all learned that OPEA needs more documentation around their core components that would make things a lot more easier and more examples of stuff. But if all that stuff is in place, it could be really good. And more stuff out there, then we could use LLMs a bit better. But here, obviously, you have to really be thinking about what is going through the pipeline, what is receiving it, what's accepting it. We can't cheat ourselves. And we still have to keep thinking in our head that entire web of where things can go wrong. And yeah, LLMs are clearly, or these AI-powered assistants are making me turn my brain off and not exercise the skills that I know I'm supposed to have. And yes, it took a long time, but we would have gotten it done the first time around. So we hit a level of complexity where, not windsurf, but you know, these agents are not meeting the needs of it. But we'll call this done. I do have some other code in here that's not supposed to be in here. Well, it is, but it's not committed. But I'm going to commit just the stuff that I worked on here today. So if I look for this, wherever it is, it's a nice refresh. I just want to commit the OPA stuff. Where are you, OPA? Docker Compose here. We'll add that. We'll update our README here. We'll update this one, this one. This other thing is something I was working on with Tim, and we'll have fun when we do that one, but it was a little bit of work. We want to ignore this one here, and we want to add this one. I'm just going to carefully make sure I got that. Oh, we have a few up here as well. So we have, oh no, these are what's added, right? And so we'll say get OPA mega service handle request working. Okay, so there you go. Right, I'll make sure I push it too. But now that we've done the digging, we've done the work, I'm very confident we can now do whatever we want because we figured out the hard part, which was troubleshooting. Right, but I'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.